Live and in color. What's happening, y'all? So it's Friday. It's a glorious rainy day Friday. It's also Red Shirt Friday. I wear a red shirt on Fridays to remember everyone deployed. That's what RED stands for. Remember everyone deployed. Yep. Kind of a long day at work. I had a couple of days off. When some more people get in, I'll start explaining that kind of stuff. But we'll wait till some people get in here. Hoping to see some of my regulars this week. What's happening, viewer? Hey, baby, how you doing? So I hadn't done a video in a couple of days. I've been real busy with funeral stuff. I had a viewing to go to on Wednesday evening. And then yesterday was the funeral for my dad. And it was pretty sad, needless to say. You can never prepare yourself for a death in the family. And I was, even though I thought I really wasn't surprised, wasn't prepared, but it finally did hit me yesterday. Especially when the military, I went out to, he's buried at Jefferson Barracks. Tell Anthony to call you. I did. I talked to Anthony. Let's see, when did I talk to Anthony? Wednesday? Yeah, I talked to Anthony Wednesday. And I told him that you wanted him to call you, and he said he would as soon as he got some more free time, whatever that means. I guess that means a free phone call. He said he would call you. But anyway, so it was really cool though, because like I say, Wednesday evening was, and we had a pretty steady stream of people come through. Most of the people were there from like a church we used to go to, and then like older friends, some people I didn't even know. For the most part, there were people there from like the Vietnam veterans group that my dad belonged to, and of course a couple of the priests that were at the churches where dad and mom got remarried and stuff like that. And it was a pretty solemn occasion. They did a really good job with the arrangements. I mean, as far as where'd everybody go? Did I drop out already? Oh God. Did I get cut off? Oh, there we go. So anyway, it was a pretty solemn occasion, and the funeral home did a really good job with my dad and makeup and haircut and dressing him and all that. And there was an American flag draped over the bottom of the casket. That was pretty cool. And then there was a couple of bouquets of flowers. Some guys from where I work, actually got together and sent a bouquet of flowers, and my boss, well, I guess the company as a whole sent flowers. What do you say, MAGA? How's it going? Oh, family, how's it going? Pretty good. I know I haven't done a video in a couple of days. I was been dealing. My dad died a couple of weeks ago, and I had a viewing to go to Wednesday evening, and then yesterday was the actual funeral. It was a military funeral, so it was pretty cool. I rode with the Patriot Guard, which is a motorcycle group that a lot of these guys are retired veterans, and they get together and they escort soldiers or people who were soldiers to the National Cemetery. So it was a pretty cool experience. I've ridden with the Patriot Guard before. Um, there was one of the kids that was one of the 13 in Afghanistan that got fired upon and killed over there during that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. And I rode with the Patriot Guard for that mission. There was 2,500 bikes there or something, and it was about a 40-mile trip. And man, going down the interstate, you couldn't. She needs to get a job, right, and to lose weight. Complimented. Turn around. See some of the awful thing. She's schizo. Oh man, I hate to hear you having that problem. Yeah, I know how ex-wives can be, or ex-girlfriends, or wives, or whatever. Yeah, I had my issues with mine for sure. We get along pretty well now. I tolerate her, but I don't have to deal with her a whole lot. I think we're speaking terms anyway. I still throw little insults at her every now and then. Let the past be the past and feel right. Yeah, that's right. Move on. But anyway, so like I said, I rode with the Patriot Guard, and so my dad was in the Army for 4 years, and then he served in the Navy for 8 years, and he was a military policeman, and then when he got out, he worked with the military associated stuff, and then he was with the VA here in St. Louis, Missouri for quite a while. I think that's where he retired. He retired from the VA, so he had honors and everything. So they had the Patriot Guard was there that we escorted him to the cemetery, and then they had the honor guard was also there, and they did the gun salute. It was only three rounds, not 21. The only people that really get 21s or 21 gun salute are like president, vice president, anybody in the government, or high officials in the military. Everybody else just has to, one next that stalks me and sometimes gets her looking through the bathroom window, shower window. The shower window. Damn, dude. You must have put a spell on that girl. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't have that. My ex called me. She would call me and leave really nasty messages on my answer machine until she found out that I was recording them and turning them into the authorities, in case there was ever a problem. And I don't have that problem anymore. She's pretty much, I don't know, I think she's pretty much figured out, what she lost. You never know, what's that song, you don't know what until it's gone. Yeah, she knows now. I don't know if she really cares. She had a hard time, changing her life. She wouldn't put down the alcohol. She wouldn't put down the pills. She was a Xanax junkie, and Xanax make you do some funny shit, that just normal people don't do. You know what I mean? So I don't. She's changed though. She'll tell you all day long, oh yeah, I've changed and this and that, but she still don't know how to tell the truth. And she got married after we split up. We split up in 2010. She was married in 2011. I'm sorry, 2012. She got married. That marriage didn't even last a year, and she's been single ever since. And I don't know. She's like she never learns. But my mom was a counselor social worker that worked with the VA, so she worked with a lot of these guys that, Vietnam vets and people with TBIs and post-traumatic stress disorder and things like that from the military. And she used to tell me all the time, your wife is antisocial. She's got antisocial disorder. Not a very honest person. She wasn't very faithful. But to hear her tell it, I was the only one she loved, and I was the only one she's with. But I've talked to guys since I left the situation over the years, run into them, or they've called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, you know what your wife is doing?" Well, I know what she was doing. I had suspicions, but I didn't have any proof, and now I do. But that's neither here nor there. So, yeah, I saw her, I don't know, March. I had to go to Charlotte. I had two friends in Charlotte, North Carolina that had passed away, and I had to go to two memorial services in the same week. So that was kind of a rough week for my daughter, still lives with her. And I stayed at the house with them. And I didn't see much, but she did have me take her to the store one day. She don't have a car. I mean, she's got a car, but she didn't take care of it. She tore it up. Now it doesn't run. It sits in her front yard, but oh well. I'm a mechanic too, by the way. So she doesn't have anybody to fix her cars. But anyway, so we were talking, and she was like, "Oh, all I ever wanted was for you to be happy." Well, if you wanted me to be happy, then why did you treat me so bad? That's what I didn't. Why did you screw around on me and lie to me and manipulate me and keep me broke? And, I mean, come on now, really? And I told her, I said, well, if you had kept me happy, I'd probably still be here with you. I'd probably still be your husband, and I'd probably be doing the things that we would do as a married couple. But I'm glad I got out while I did, because I'm telling you, man, she's up there. But anyway, I am a magnet for crazy women. That makes me too. Crazy women love me. It's like I moved to Missouri back in 2010 after I left my wife, and dude, I've met some real psychos out here. I don't know if it's something in the water. If it's well, I live close to the airport, and I'm starting to wonder, about all this stuff, the chemicals and shit they spray in the air. Now, you'll have people tell you, "Oh no, they don't do that," but I'm starting to wonder, if that's true, because I didn't have. I feel like I'm kind of asthmatic at times. I didn't have allergies and shit till I moved here, So there's something different about the air. But I live like 4 miles from the airport, so I got planes flying over my house all the time. It's something in the chicken, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. It's got to be. Well, they put all the animals now that we eat are all genetically designed anymore. If you get, eggs from a free-range chicken, it has to come from a certain place. Like, you don't know what they're giving that chicken, steroids and shit. I mean, why are 12-year-old girls look like fucking 25-year-old women these days? It doesn't make any sense. When I was in school, 12-year-old girls were flat-chested and had no ass. And like nowadays, it's completely different. They look like grown-ass fucking women, but they age a lot faster too. You know what I mean? So you got this girl girl that looks like she's 25, but she's got the mentality of a 6-year-old. I mean, that tells you, that's got to tell you something. And I don't, I can sit here and talk, rabbit hole shit all day, and you don't trust Tyson. I don't, speaking of Tyson's, so I lived in Monroe, North Carolina, and in Wingate, North Carolina was the Tyson Foods plant, where they took the chickens and everything. and they were the highest employer of Hispanic people in all of like the whole county. All the Hispanic people from the whole county worked at that place. It was unbelievable. Most, of course, were probably illegals anyway. Hey, something with a chicken. I can't get over that. Yeah, I believe you. So, anyway, yeah. Okay, I forgot where I was at. But we were talking about food and shit. Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, but seriously, it's like back when I was a kid, you only had to have like, 4 or 5 immunizations in order to get into school. And I think, I don't know, I may have had like the polio shot, the measles, the mumps, just a couple others, smallpox, when I was a kid. But it's like, now, I mean, kids are getting like 40 and 50 shots, like right when they're born, you know what I mean? And these kids really don't have a chance anymore, It's really unbelievable what those shots were taken and trusted. Yes, they were. And people just, okay, you say my kid needs that, to go ahead and put it in them. But, I mean, if you look at, diseases over the years, very questionable. Kids over the years, I mean, like, kids with Down syndrome have dramatically increased since I was a kid. Kids with, autism, are like 300 times more than they were when I was a kid. Then you've got, the kids that have learning disabilities and they have mental retardation. I don't know if we're supposed to use the word retard anymore, and I really don't care. It's, politically correct bullshit. But there's a lot of retarded kids walking around these days, and I mean, it seems like there's been a steady increase, since the mid-70s at least anyway. It's like every time I go places, I always see, a kid that doesn't quite look right or act right. And, it's got to be like autism or, some Down syndrome or something like that. And even at the grocery stores, you know what I mean? Kids, some of the kids that are, have those things are working in grocery stores, and they're very noticeable. But, that just goes to the tisms, that's right. But it's amazing that, the numbers speak for themselves as far as, what has been going on. Whether it's cloud seeding or, spraying the atmosphere or, putting shit in the food, the immunizations, there's definitely a difference, nowadays. And kids just don't seem to be as smart anymore either. Of course now in school they're paying attention to so many other different things that they don't, when I went to school it was writing, reading, and arithmetic. Now it's, gender studies and, I don't know, all kinds of other stuff that we never studied. We did study. Like, they don't study the Constitution anymore. They do that for a reason, because they don't want kids in the United States to know what the rights are, I guess. They don't do stuff about the Civil War anymore. They're trying to forget that, because not everything, and they've really made the Civil War all about slavery, and that's not what it was about. I mean, that may have been part of it, but that wasn't the sole purpose. And states did secede because they wanted their own rights. They wanted to be able to make their own laws, and back then that wasn't allowed. Of course now Lincoln was a tyrant. I don't care what anybody says, Honest Abe bullshit. Honest Abe was a dickhead, historically speaking. Social studies. Well, you know, they used to call social studies history, MAGA, years ago. You know, um, when you would, you know, like the Bolshevik Revolution. I studied that in school. We studied about the Greeks and the people from Georgia, or the what do they call, the Spartans and shit like that. We learned about all that stuff in school. You know, about Egyptians and, you know, the wars that happened back then, and stuff like that. And they don't teach shit like that anymore. You know, it's more, you know, social studies is not history. Social studies is, you know, the psychology and the sociology of things nowadays. And it doesn't make anything any better. All it does is cause more division. You know, and that's a plan, I guess. You know, from some of those, what they call them, elites, or you know, the evil left hand people. Here I am talking about politics. I don't even like politics, but you know, you have to, for things like that, you just kind of have to open your eyes and ears and take notice of what's going on around you. Books told the truth and weren't revised for PC culture. Yes, exactly. You know, and a lot of the stuff that was in the books that I read in school is not there anymore. They don't have like economics anymore. Home economics, you know, where you know, learn how to cook, you learn how to fold your sheets and wash clothes and use, you know, kitchen utensils. They don't have that anymore. You know, that was like a big deal. Of course, it was a lot more. They don't teach kids how to take care of themselves. That's why you got 35-year-old men living in their grandma's basement, you know, sitting, vegging and getting stoned, and, you know, vegging out all day and playing video games, because they don't have any sense of responsibility, you know. They like policies, histories, and very open to many subjects. Well, I do too, but I think was the last, I think my generation was the last one, and I was born in 90. Yeah, see, I was born in 69, so I'm 56 years old. And, you know, things were a lot simpler back when I was growing up, you know. We didn't really argue about things like, you know, I mean, we knew who, like the gay kids, for instance. We knew there were gay kids, but we didn't, you know, like pick on them about it. I mean, there were probably people that did, but I didn't, you know. But they were okay with, you know, just being gay and being part of society. But now it's completely different. These people, they act like, you know, notice me, you know what I mean? Like, we have to go out of our way to notice them. And so, you know, they started all this, you know, Pride Month and all that bullshit that goes along with it. Who cares? I don't give a fuck who you sleep with. If that's your preference, then fine, but I don't need to know about it, you know? I can like you whether you're gay or not. It doesn't matter to me, you know, but they don't, I don't know, it's like a narcissistic society of people that have gotten together and just, you know, I guess they didn't get enough attention when they were kids, so they have to have it now, you know. And I don't know who they hate or why, but they feel the need to, you know, like pound this in our heads or something. You know, the 1% is now controlling the other 99%. And of course, the Democrats allowed that to happen, you know. Yeah, exactly. We didn't bully each other for, you know, the gay kids being, dude, I could hang out with the gay kids just as well as I could the straight kids, you know. And I was kind of a social butterfly anyway, you know. I got along with everybody, but that's just because of my background. It wasn't that I chose any certain people to run with, you know. I hung out with the jocks, I hung out with the preppies. I mean, I had people in all the crowds, you know. And because I didn't see the differences really when I was a kid. And it's like now people go out of their way to point out differences in people, and it's crazy, you know. I honestly believe that a lot of those people are probably, you know, mentally ill or emotionally disturbed in some way, but without knowing who they are or what they're about, I can't really say that, you know, even though I do at times, you know, like the guys that want to cut a dick off of me, you know what I mean? I don't, I don't understand that. You know, I mean, you were born a man. If you're not happy with who you are,